Okay, guys, so this is our first recorded digital lesson. So basically, how this is going to work is you're just going to follow along and take the notes. You can go at your own pace, so pause, fast forward, whatever as you need. Today, we're going to be talking about the number system. And the number system, basically, what that is, you've definitely heard about it before, but it classifies numbers based on characteristics and type. So we're actually going to start with whole numbers, and that's just your run of the mill number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like any number that's not a decimal, a fraction, or a signed number. Then we're going to move to integers. Those are your signed numbers or your negative numbers. Notice that they are still whole numbers. Then we move to rational numbers. This is kind of the all-encompassing I don't want to call it a branch, but piece of the puzzle. Rational numbers include everything here, and those are all fractions and all decimals that repeat or terminate. So we'll learn about a different type of decimal later this year, but if the decimal ends or if it repeats, basically if it can be written as a fraction, it is a rational number. Okay, so now we're going to move kind of into some operations, and I'm so sorry about how bad I'm doing fast forwarding here. So we're going to learn about a thing called the additive inverse. So looking at our number line, it asks me to plot both 5 and -5 on the number line below. So I'm just doing that. And right now, I'm just showing you how many spaces there are on a number line between -5 and 5. And that is 10 spaces. So that is the distance they are apart from each other. But the other thing I want you to notice is that they are both a certain number of spaces away from 0. So I'm going to see that -5 is 5 spaces away from 0. And here I'm going to also see that +5, and that was a little glitch there, +5 is also 5 spaces away from 0. So that's what I'm going to write right there. I am also going to say that the absolute value of a number is the distance away from 0 on the number line. So the absolute value of +5 is still 5, and the absolute value of -5 is also 5 because they are 5 spaces away from 0. I'm going to do the absolute value of -8 as an example. So I'm going to start at -8, and I'm going to do my little loops up to 0, and I'm going to see that it's 8 spaces away from 0. So my absolute value is +8 because distance is never negative, okay? So that's the first example. Now I'm going to do +6. So I'm going to start at 6, go back towards 0, and I'm going to see that 6 is 6 spaces from 0. Once again, distance is never negative, even though I was going to the left, and my absolute value is going to be 6. So right now, I want you to pause the video, and you are going to fill in this table below and do all of the examples. You can copy down the table, or you can just do the number, the absolute value, and the opposite, whichever way works for you on your notebook. So I'm going to go ahead and show you those answers here. As you can see, there are your answers. Check it if you need to. And we're going to be moving on. So when a number and its opposite are added, the sum is 0. And this is called the additive inverse. So basically, if I take 5 plus -5, I'm going to get 0. And that's because you can kind of think of that as if I have 5 and then I take away 5, I obviously end up with 0. Here we're going to add integers using a number line. I'm not going to go really into a lot of detail on this first one. 7 plus 3 we all know how to do. It's not that difficult. And we're going to get +10. So that is not a big challenge there. And then we're going to move on to -2 plus -3. So when you have the same sign, these are easier than if you have opposite signs. And basically all that means is you're just going to add them together and keep whatever sign they share. So if you're adding two negatives, you're going to get a negative answer. If you already owe someone $2 and then you borrow $3 more, you now owe them $5, which is basically what that problem is asking you to do. Now we've got 5 plus -7. So this would be like if you had $5 and then you borrowed $7 from someone, you would then owe them $2. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate on this number line. I'm going to start at 5 and I'm going to go left 7. So when you are adding a negative number, you go to the left on the number line and you get a -2. So -3 plus 6, let's say I owe someone $3 and then I get $6. How much do I really have? I have $3, which is what I'm going to show on this number line again. So I'm going to start at -3, but this time I'm going to go to the right because I'm adding a positive number, and I'm going to end up at +3. And I wrote -3 because I had a moment, but I definitely meant +3, so ignore that mistake there. Whoops, shows you that even teachers make mistakes. So now I've got 3 minus 9. So I'm going to do the same thing. I've got my number line. All I did here was just skip numbers because it was getting a little too crowded down there. And I'm going to start at +3, and I'm going to go left 9 because I'm taking 9 away. So if I've got $3 and then I borrow $9 from someone, I really owe that person $6. So same thing for this next one here. I'm going to start at +4 and I'm going to start going to the left because once again I am subtracting. So when you are subtracting a positive number, you go to the left. So I owe somebody, or I have $4, I borrow 7, I now owe that person $3, or I am in debt $3. Debt is always negative. The answer is -3. And then this number 7 here, I start at -1. Once again, I am subtracting a positive, which means I'm going to go to the left. And I am going to go ahead and draw my loops. If I already owe somebody $1, then I borrow $6 more. I now owe them $7, and for some reason I kept subtracting 7, so I'm going to fast forward through my little brain fart I had there because I don't want you guys to see that. So as you can see, I made a mistake. I think I'm going to make it again, so let's keep fast forwarding, and eventually we get to the fact that I figured out it was -7, not -8, and I wrote oops because once again I made a mistake. So number 8 is kind of special. So when we have 5 minus -3, that really means I am doing the opposite of subtracting 3, so I'm going to add the opposite because remember those minus signs really mean the opposite of. So I'm going to do the opposite of subtracting 3, which is to add 3. So I'm going to do 5 plus 3. And that is going to give me 8. I'm not going to really spend time drawing that out on the number line. You guys know how to do that, I am sure. So our next thing. So if your signs are the same, this is like what I said earlier, if they're the same, you are going to add and use the same sign. So 2 positives, you get a positive. 2 negatives, you get a negative. That is very self-explanatory. I'm not going to spend time working that out, going over that part with you, because we all know how to do addition. But if the signs are different, okay, so if you have a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive, you're actually going to subtract the 2 numbers. And you are going to keep the sign of the number with the greater absolute value, okay? And I'm going to show you guys how that works because I know this can be a little confusing, okay? We're going to do a lot of practice with this. So looking at this first problem, I have -2. plus 10. I'm going to do 10 minus 2, and I'm going to get 8. And since 10 is greater than 2, my answer is going to be positive because my 10 is positive, okay? So you are looking at those absolute values, which is why I use positive 2 right here, because I'm taking the absolute value of negative 2 to get a positive answer, okay? Let's look at the second one. So the second one, I'm going to do 17 minus 8, which gives me 9. And 17 is bigger than 8. Remember, I'm using the absolute value of negative 17. So my answer is going to be negative because I keep the sign of the number with the larger absolute value, okay? So make sure you remember that. I know it's the most confusing rule we're going to learn with this, but you have to know that, okay? So I want you to pause the video and I want you to do the next 3 on your own, and then I will have them worked out for you. So go ahead and pause and do that. So same thing with decimals. If the signs are the same, add and use the same sign. So once again, I'm not going to walk you through how to work these out. I think we all know how to add decimals. If you need some extra help with the adding and subtracting decimals, please come to my Google Meet on Friday and I will go through how to do all of that with you, okay? So we're going to go ahead and go through those 4 problems. And same thing here, if the signs are different, you subtract and take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. So same thing here, I did 10.7 minus 2.5, all right, sorry. Yes, 10.7 minus 2.5 to get 8.2. 17.6 minus 8.2 to get 9.4, but it's going to be a negative because 17.6 is greater than 8.4. So my answer is going to be negative. So I want you to go ahead and work out the rest of the problems. I know the answers are on here. That's my bad. But just go ahead and work through that, okay? So this is your video on adding integers. You also, when you finish this, need to go on my YouTube channel and watch the video of subtracting integers. That is the first thing we are going to do today. And then we will work on multiplication and division on your next class day with me.